Hello, everyone. How's it going? I am M.L.S. Weech. I am a self-published author, and this is a return to a series I used to do on my blog. I used to run a book cover competition where people would vote on it throughout the month, and I really loved it. I really enjoyed doing it, but it was super time-consuming with the format that I was using. So I had an idea. Why not let the search for a book cover be part of the event, record the process, provide my thoughts, and make a YouTube video out of it and see how that would work. And this is the result. I hope to eventually start bringing other people in here, either just to converse with or talk to. But I'm learning more and more about the process and how the intricacies of social communication work. And there are a few pitfalls here and there that I don't really want to get into at this moment. What I do want to do is look at book covers and talk about why I think they work, give some thoughts on what I like about them, what I don't like so much about them, and then each one of these episodes, I'm going to pick my favorite 7 for you, the viewers, to then vote on. If you like this video, do me a favor, give it a like, give it a subscribe, and offer your comments, and go ahead and vote for your favorite cover. And, if you want to help an independent author out, maybe go to my Amazon page and look at some of my books and see if they might interest you. For now, let's get to talking about these first sets of book covers. First one we're looking at right now is called Infinite by Brian Freeman. This has one aspect that I wanted to highlight. It's the idea of pattern and repetition. So if you look at the series of boxes, those boxes create a pattern, and patterns catch the eye to begin with. And then they're made more interesting when something breaks the pattern. And what we're seeing in this set of images is these patterns, these boxes, create a composite of the individual, this male figure, that becomes more clear as we get closer to the center. And that's just a real clever trick to get the eye and hold the eye. The other thing I wanted to mention, something that I'm not necessarily such a big fan of, but it makes a kind of sense for a certain reason. If you look at the text, the title text, Infinite, is in white. It's just below the eyes, so that's not so bad. But if your eyes are really drawn to that yellow text, that author text down there, then that's a very specific design concept. Bright color draws the eye. So what I expect is the people, when they look at this cover, one of the first things they're going to see is the author's name. Now, this trick works when you are a New York Times bestselling author, because what's being sold here is the author, and his brand, his name is drawing the eye and it's drawing the attention. So fans of Brian Freeman are going to pick up the new Brian Freeman book, and that's what's going to draw the attention. Now, newer guys or lesser known guys like me, I can put my name in lights in Vegas and people don't know who I am, so they're less inclined to purchase. It's just the nature of how it works. The more famous you are, the more your name sells itself. The less famous you are, the more you're going to have to rely on other concepts. I think the yellow really just yanks the eye, and it takes away from what's a fairly interesting cover. And the reason I'm not such a big fan of the even like bigger names, like whoever you are, as large as you are, you're already famous. People are already looking for your book title. They're already looking for your work. So they don't need to see your name. You can actually increase the power of your book cover by letting the design speak for itself, and your name will sell it even if the design isn't that strong. We're going to see that with another cover up here pretty soon, but that's the one I wanted to, that's the note I wanted to make. The next image we're going to talk about is this one here called Dark Storm. This is what I typically call a portrait style cover, and these are more common in book series. This is book 2 of a series. The one I think about most when I think about portrait series is the Dresden Files, where you always see the tall man in a trench coat with the broad brimmed hat, and you know that's Harry Dresden, and that builds consistency in the covers, and that's nice. That's a very effective tool. It's most effective when it's consistent in how it operates. Why I like this particular portrait style cover is the use of light. The designer and creator of this cover really understood how light works. And why I'm saying that is you have this fancy dancy tendril of magical power or ability, and that small light is what's illuminating the character's face, and is what's causing those shadows to happen, and it's what's explaining why we can see one figure who's backlit by a cityscape. I'm not the biggest fan of the sword. I think that sword looks a little janky. But you take the good with the bad, and you try to look for things that are solid, covers that catch your eye. The cityscape is plain and simplistic. It doesn't clutter up the background of this figure that we're looking at. And then you get the title text, which is a little when I say weak, what I mean is the stroke of the text, the D and the A and the R. Those letters are very thin and skinny, but the designer makes up for it by making the text larger. So the little frills and the little serifs are feet. That's what the word serif means. And we're just talking about the lines at the ends of these letters. They can be more pronounced and look more attractive when the font is run bigger. I wouldn't necessarily run this title text in a small font if I were writing it in a story or in the text of a book. But what really stands out is really, really nice rendering, nice drawing, nice detailing the art, and just honestly great understanding of how light works. And I really appreciated it. Next book we're going to look at is Andy Weir. Now, again, I told you I was going to talk about it. I like what Andy Weir did better in this cover personally. Obviously, if you like something like something different, vote on it down below, and your votes will win. Andy Weir is a huge selling author. I've seen several of his books, and they all have this kind of similar style. I still love that. Yes, his name is prominent in that it's higher and it's big, but it doesn't conflict with the rest of the cover. It's a part of a whole that doesn't draw and trap the eye. It's a part that contributes to the design. It's a cleaner concept as a whole. The font's a little wonky, but it's effective for a sci-fi story. And I just love this planet rendering, these lines, and this beautiful color that we see here. So there's a lot that comes together that adds to a concept called unity. When everything comes together on a cover, that makes the whole good, even if each individual piece isn't outstanding, is still a very clever, effective design concept. Up next, we're going to look at this cover, and I don't see enough of this anymore. I think the one that did it best is what's it called? A Darker Shade of Magic. That series, the covers, they're just so fantastic for this stylistic decision, and it's really pleasing. And this detailed standard line art is just amazing. And there's a lot that I want to get into here. I'm just going to touch on a few of them. The first thing I want to talk about is just look at the detail in all of these lines. Look at the use of color from this muted orange to this deep red, and it's all the colors you see here are in that same palette, in that same range, and that's awesome. And the last thing I want to mention is a concept called directional lines of force. Directional lines of force is when the eye goes to something, and for me, it's the title text, paladin strength, and then the elements in a design drag the eye around it but hold it, and this book literally does that. So you go from the title text up to this bear, down around this flame to the sword, back up. You can swing around the other side. You can't look around without seeing the author's name, and it just really does a great job of using clever line art design. And I love the more Hellenistic renderings. I love lifelike portraits. I love lifelike three-dimensional modeling. Those are all wonderful things that I appreciate, and I kind of lean to when I'm looking for cover designs for my own books. But I got to give a nod of appreciation for those great line art artists, um, who don't get enough credit and aren't given enough opportunity to shine. So if you're a line artist, get out there and see if you know you can work with some authors and get your book covers out there, because it's worth the attention. It's worth the note. Next one I'm going to talk about is Spellmaker. And what I wanted to talk about here is there are a couple concepts. Reflection is one. I don't necessarily call this reflection, even though some could argue that reflection is when you see something reflected in a surface. But I don't see what surface this would be. This is more another concept called balance. And balance is when one half of the frame looks exactly like the other half of the frame. They're perfectly matched. And that's what this is doing here. Now, there is a little bit of a twist. The cityscape in the background and the figure are inverted. And that just adds a little bit of a sweet spot. So as you're looking around, the eye is really weighted down in this nice, beautiful, clean, neutral background. And it holds all of your attention in this very beautifully detailed cityscape rendering with this clever figure. And the other thing this does is it gives me a sense of expectation for what this story is about. Maybe this is an alternate universe or an alternate dimension story, that if I picked up this book and I was in the mood to read one of those, this cover would sell me on it, and the story inside would either like reward me or I'd be disappointed. But it doesn't take away from the beautiful detail in the art, the clever use of the text, the title text as a center area. We don't typically like things in the center when we talk about design. We don't. There are times and place. One of those times is when you have this balance. So when you have balance, you have the center of the text and everything's drawn toward that. And it works when everything around it is equal and leading to it. But if you don't have those elements, you don't want to put things in the middle too often. You want to move them around, because the way scientists study how the eyes work, they don't spend a lot of time in the middle. They kind of wander around in the line. And because here in America, we read from top left to bottom right, and a bunch of other nations, but some read differently. But the human eye tends to take this pattern instinctively. So when you have a tight, balanced element centered around an object, that does a lot because it anchors down the eye. So this is a great job. I really appreciate this cover. Next one we're going to look at is The Fourth Secret by AFK. I'm going to freely acknowledge here that there is a moment of bias in this. What that means is I love silhouettes. I enjoy them. I think they're cool, especially when they're done right. I am not a fan of poorly done silhouettes. But what happens is, because there are so many bad silhouettes out there, some people are very, very tired of them. And you can run out you can wear out a design theme pretty quickly. This follows all the rules of a good silhouette, though. It's a clean background. I know we got all these soldiers and warriors fighting along here, but what's happening is the people crowding and charging at one another, the gap in that approaching conflict is filled by the silhouetted figure. The only knock I have on this really is the solar flare or whatever's going on. It really looks like his head's exploding, and that's super distracting. It's a very small knock. Obviously, all these covers are covers that I would have loved. I would value. The other thing I wanted to mention on this is a concept called color sampling. So if you look at the author text here, what they did is they took this color near the subject and they used that same color in this text. It's a very common design concept, and it helps unify all the visual elements. And then when you have your white title text, it stands out all the more, but you want your title text to stand out. And I like that it leads from the figure to the title text. It doesn't have the same directional lines of force, and it doesn't hold the eye like some of the others do, because your eye just goes in circles. This one lets you go from the silhouette down and out, and but at least it still makes you look at everything before you leave or look away from the cover. So the very, very nice job, very, very nice detail. Even in the far back, the detail put into the charging figures. And the last one I want to talk about is Throwing Shade by Deborah Wild. There are several things I like about this. I just think it's a whimsical, clever cover. The text is very whimsical with the flowing script all around it. I like the little skull and crossbones on that glass heel. I love that it looks kind of Cinderella-esque, and the title or the subtitle, A Humorous Paranormal Women's Fiction, kind of clues you in that this is indeed something whimsical. So it's good alignment of design choices with the content of the book. A lot of book covers, what they try to do is kind of treat it like a movie poster for the book. This one is a movie poster for the theme of the book. And I like that. I appreciate it. I like the use of the light and the tendrils coming from it and how it leads you up to the text. It's not the most stunning, groundbreaking design I've seen this side of, Lord of the Rings, but it's just a nice, solid, clever use of text and a dominant visual element working together to create a emotional theme, and that's fantastic. So those are the covers for this week, and I really hope that some of these draw your attention. Please head on down to the description, vote for your favorite. We'll announce the winner in a future video and on my blog. Please follow my blog, follow this channel, and take a look at my work, and take a look at the work of these other authors, although some of them are bestsellers, so the chances are you're already reading them. But give them a shot. I hope you've enjoyed it. You all have a great day, and I will see you next time.